The question that haunts many survivors is just the simple fact of, will he return? Like, will the narcissist actually come back into my life? Like, maybe you exposed him, maybe he discarded you, maybe he just ghosted you and went out of his life, and you're like left with the question, the thought just in the back of your mind, is he going to come back? Like, is this something I have to worry about? Do I have to worry about him stepping back into my life and abusing me? Do I have to worry about my physical safety or protecting my kids? What does this actually look like when we talk through narcissistic abuse? Is he going to come back? If y'all are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness of narcissistic abuse, to try to be able to explain things from a different perspective, or just the perspective of myself coming from a narcissistic frame, understanding, hey, this is what's happened in my life, and this is what I'm working on, and how I'm helping develop and heal other people now that I know what I've done, and how we can actually set people free from understanding it from this side. And so the question a lot of times people have is like, hey, is he going to come back? And one of the first things I tell people is expect that he will. They're like, but he's not going to come back because I exposed him. He's not going to come back because he left me. Expect that he will. I would rather you expect that there's going to be some form of contact eventually. And oftentimes people are too naive when it comes to this fact. And they're like, but he's not going to do this. I know, it's okay. In reality, a lot of times it happens. I want you to consider just for a moment that it could happen. That's it. Not that it is, not that it will, but just the possibility that it could happen. Oftentimes it does. And when we think through this, I want you just to be careful by setting up healthy boundaries, by making sure there's no way for him to contact you, because otherwise, a lot of times people are naive thinking it's not going to happen. The longest Hoover that I know of that someone talked about whenever I was on a live one time was, I think it was like 30 years. Maybe it's 40 years. I don't remember at this point. But it was a really, really long time. So unless you've been away from your narcissist for like 10, 20 years and you haven't got hoovered, let's not jump to conclusions saying he's probably not going to come back. He hasn't contacted me in 1 week. Give it a little bit more time. Narcissists have this cycle of hoovering, and it's unpredictable. It's unpredictable when it's going to happen. It's unpredictable of how long it's going to be. They're notorious for having these hoovering tactics, okay? Like the Hoover vacuum, sucking you back in to a toxic relationship where he comes back into your life unexpectedly. Oftentimes, it's like, I didn't expect him to come back. I didn't think he was going to come back. Sweeps you off your feet, and you're back in the relationship. You're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be great. It's not. It's the same guy. It's the same toxicity. It's the same awful environment. But now I'm stuck back in the abuse even more because I came back. Narcissist thinks a lot of times that when you accept them back into your life, that you are accepting the previous abuse that he's already done to you. Let me say that again. Now, a narcissist thinks that when you accept him back into your life, you're accepting the abuse that he previously did to you. A lot of times the narcissist will come back over and over and over, fueled by this need to control you, to control the narrative, fueled by insecurity of like, you had the last voice, you had the last word in, so I need to come back, so I have the last word, and then leaves you. Or the desire just to reel you back in just for the manipulation piece of like, let me manipulate you, let me control you to get what I want. It's like being caught in this whirlwind where you never know when he's going to come back, when he's going to magically appear in your life and try to catch you off guard. But when he does, it'll often be this convincing facade that he's changed, that everything's better. The hard part is typically you'll believe it because you want to believe it because of the previous relationship or the previous interaction with him that made you care and love about him, but was also toxic. And typically that's why he pushed you away, he left, or you left, but then he came back. Think of it this way, like after months, it's been months of no contact. He hasn't contacted you at all of a sudden he shows back up. He has declarations of love. He's telling you how much he cares about you and promises change. This is the kicker. He promises change only to revert back to a toxic behavior. It's like you got together with him and he's like, I promise you, this time it's going to be different. I've worked on myself, all this kind of stuff. In reality, he's probably just been with someone else for the past couple of months and got tired of them or they broke up with them, so he's back to you. Narcissists recycle their supplies. Narcissist uses you over and over for as many times as you let him come back. And oftentimes this erratic behavior, this pattern of coming back and forth leaves you emotionally disoriented and vulnerable. Vulnerable for more attacks because you don't know what to actually feel, what to actually think. Because it's like, oh, he loves me now. Oh, he hates me now. Oh, he loves me now. Oh, he hates me now. And over, this will start to control your perspective. Now, oftentimes when he comes back in, the hoovering aspect, he'll come back in with his aspect of this almost going back to the idealization phase, love bombing, bringing it back really hot and heavy of like, hey, I really love you, I really care about you, and there's this intensity to it. An intensity of like, wow, he gets me now, he cares, and he starts giving you everything, showering you the attention, focusing a lot of time and energy on you, and you're like, whoa, this is what I always wanted. Imagine that. You might have said what you always wanted in the relationship or at the end of the relationship. Now he's leveraging it back on you to make sure that you actually stick with him, because he's giving you the things that you always wanted. He's breadcrumbing you. He's giving you the pieces that you actually want to see. This is a manipulation tactic. The manipulation tactic to regain your trust, to put you back in goods with the narcissist of like, oh, we're connected now. And starts to build an emotional investment. You feel invested into him because he's all of a sudden connected to you. You've never been this connected before. It's never been this good. But then it's also followed with it's never been this bad. It can feel like you're living a dream but that you hoped for. But once you get far enough into it, it stops. And it's a setup for another round of emotional turmoil. Another confusing back and forth over and over and over. These cycles of push and pull get to a place where sometimes you'll be the one hoovering. You'll be the one reaching back out to the narcissist because he's pushed you away so much to make you feel small and insecure and rejected. You start to reach out of like, wait, because oftentimes you're looking for the validation from that toxic person of who you are, of what actually matches up. So you have to be careful of this, because oftentimes a narcissist will try to manipulate and push you certain ways to get you to respond in this way. Picture a narcissistic person that after disappearing for months shows back up and has gifts for you, or is going to take you on a trip, or is promising you all these different things. He's all of a sudden being complimentary. He's all of a sudden interacting with you, interacting with the kids. He's showing loving gestures. He's making you actually believe that he's truly changed, that something's actually there. And you're swept off your feet. You're like, this is amazing. This is what I've always wanted. But later you start to see he's not going to therapy. He's still talking to this other girl. Like there's all of a sudden these things that haven't shown true change at all. Narcissist pretends really well to show change just to get back into your life. Now we move on to point number 3, which is the ongoing manipulation. This is where narcissists like to have strings attached. Like they want to keep you as a source of supply. They want to keep their cake and have it too. So it's like, I want to have you on the string so I can pull the string, have you back in my life whenever I want you. Oh, I've got another string over here dangling. Let me push you away. Let me pull this one in. Narcissists do this all the time. It's like, I need to make sure I have multiple people, multiple supplies to keep me satisfied, to keep me happy. So the narcissist will go from one person to the next person, back to one person, to the next person, back to one person, to the next person. That one doesn't work anymore because they won't let me back. So go back to this person. Narcissists will keep coming back to you as long as you keep letting it. Narcissists will keep coming back to you as long as you keep letting him. Narcissist is going to try to do whatever he can to use you as a source of narcissistic supply. You are just supply to a toxic person. He's looking at you as a means of income. He's looking at you as a place to stay. Looking at you as a place of validation, emotional support, sex, whatever it might be. Maybe sometimes he'll come back in pretending that he actually needs help. Like, can you help me? Like, I can't sign this car loan. Big one. A lot of people say this. Can't sign this car loan because my credit's not good. Can you just help me? And you're like, yeah, I'll help you. And then you're on the line when he stops paying you. You see this all the time where narcissists will put things on you. Try to come back for emotional assistance. My girlfriend just broke up with me. You're the only one that connected with me. You're the only one that knows me. You're the only one that cares. All the time while manipulating your emotions. This is just a twisted form of control that keeps a steady supply of attention and validation from not just you, but multiple people. Narcissists will do this to keep multiple people on the hook, to keep multiple people coming back. Despite divorce, he keeps coming back to you. He keeps returning to ask financial favors, to get emotional support, keeping you tethered to him. Even though you're divorced, even though you're separated, he still keeps coming back. It's a constant tug of war, back and forth. It leaves you emotionally drained. It leaves you depleted. This is all part of the plan of keeping you on the hook. Cut the rope. Get free. Sometimes you have this aspect where the narcissist is saying the change, and people oftentimes are like, but wait a second, you changed, talking to me, and Lee changed, so maybe mine can change. The thing you have to understand is unless he's willing to be honest about himself, nothing's going to change. Like, unless he's willing to be honest about the shit that he's done, nothing is going to change. It's going to stay the same. Having a narcissist that actually transforms from the inside out is extremely uncommon. So, like, don't look at me and be like, oh, but he changed, maybe mine can change. Because you're not supposed to look at me to stay in an abusive relationship. If anything, I preach and I teach the opposite. I say, if this person that you're with is not honest, is not vulnerable, and is not showing consistent change, you need to leave. When I wasn't showing those things, my wife left. Don't stay in a toxic relationship if a person is not showing honesty, vulnerability, and consistent change. A narcissist that actually is transforming is the exception. It's not the rule. It's super complex. It's super hard. It's a super long and tough process that will continue the majority of their lives. It's something that I have to do on a day-to-day basis to help rewire my mindset so I don't revert back to the toxic behavior, so I don't become that person that I don't want to be, so I don't turn into the monster that I was versus the man that I am today. Like, I'll always want to go back to that if I stop doing the work of being honest, of showing change, and of working on my vulnerability, because through vulnerability becomes the conduit to actual transformation. The hard part of narcissists don't want to deal with that because that's exposing the ego. It's having it die. It's exposing the lies. It's having to work through understanding that other people are not supplies and objects to serve. Hopefully that makes sense. Be careful about your narcissist coming back. More often than not, he will. You need to make sure that you're planned ahead and prepared. We help people with that every single day. You can go to rawmotivations.com. We'd love to help you move forward in that healing process.